Hello everyone, welcome. This is Erin, and today I'm replicating this very cool piece of concept art by Eyvind Earle for Sleeping Beauty. I have lots of colors that I'm using today, so I'll list that in the description below. I have some illustration board here taped off with washi tape, a couple of brushes, some dry brushes or brushes for dry brush effect. I've opened up Procreate here and I've gone to my palette section, and this little plus sign here, I can go and pick a picture and check it out. All the colors from that photo are now in a new palette. I can also open the photo here and pick colors individually as well and start a new palette. So a couple of ways there to get your colors right. And this first color, the background, I can look in my wheel and see exactly what kind of pink that is. So it's a red closer to magenta, and then I put in some white. I've got a little bit of green there, so if I want to tone that down, you know, take down the saturation, I'm using the complementary color to red, which is green. And I've added a little bit of yellow as well. And ultimately what I'm doing here is I'm creating three different colors. I'm doing the background color, which is more of a pink, and then I've got more yellow in these two colors beside it. So those two colors, this sort of peach color and then a much lighter, more yellow peach, will be the sun, so that I can do the background and the sun glow very quickly so that it all blends nicely, and you can see how that works here. So I've blocked out, or I've drawn out a little bit of the composition just so I know how big this opening is in the castle wall, looking out at this beautiful vista. And yeah, as the background is while it's still wet, I'm using that orangey color, the orange pinky color, to do the glow, and then the more yellow color at the center, and working very quickly so that while it's all wet, it's blending nice and smoothly. And of course the gouache is at that creamy melted ice cream texture. And now I'm doing this cloud, so I just added some white to the background color so that it's not pure white. It's got a little bit of a peach tone to it. And there's the cloud. Now we've got the floor color to do, and this is one of my favorite colors. Is this sort of, I always think of it as like tomato soup. It's like this creamy diminished red, so it looks, to me it always looks vintage. It feels like this retro red, but it's basically red mixed with a bit of white and a little bit of green to tone it down. And there we've got the floor. Now this is cool, doing this shadow. We're going to use a deep violet over mixed in with some of that tomato soup red, and that way the shadow, you know, it has a bit of the color of the floor, and so it's not, you know, a drastic shift from the floor color to the shadow colors. So it just creates a nice depth for the shadow. And I have my paper towel here, so I'm blotting away some of the paint so that you can see more of that floor coming through. So really it's not, yeah, it's not a solid shadow, it's more diffused. We've got a bit of the floor coming through, so there, it feels more of like a dappled effect with the light coming in, more of a diffused lighting. And making the gray now for the stonework, I'm just mixing black and white with that purpley color, and that way it has more depth as well. Very rarely do you want to just mix up white and black to make gray. It's always nice to put a bit of color in there, especially a color that's already in your composition, and that way that gray will just blend in a little nicer, look a little bit more cohesive. And I should mention, I am sick. I don't know if you can tell if my voice sounds a little sicky, but yeah, I went out on New Year's, stayed up way too late, had such a good time dancing, but then took the train home from Portland. I live up in Vancouver, BC, and the woman sitting next to me was sick. She kept coughing and sneezing, and even though she was wearing a mask, I should have been wearing a mask. I've had my shots, but I got sick. I don't know how sick. Hopefully not too sick, but I am staying home for a few days. And yeah, anyway, back to the painting. These trees, these beautiful iconic Eyvind Earle trees, they're so cool. Yeah, starting with these squares at the top that represent the tops of the trees, and then these really stylized long trunks and arched branches. Yeah, this is such a cool look, this sort of Art Nouveau style of trees that he's known for, that a lot of artists pay homage to. This tree here, really fun. It's all about pressure, right? So starting the tree off with more pressure on my brush, and then as I go up, I just sort of wiggle my wrist and lighten up on the pressure to get those fine tips of the tree branches. Okay, so here I am creating the sun and using my little circle maker, and the sun is way too high up in the composition, but whatever, it works. Mixing some yellow, white, and a little tiny bit of red to make this nice deep yellow. It's always a good idea to mix white with yellow because yellow is so transparent. And painting in my sun. Next up are these little tiny dots. Another one of Eyvind Earle's techniques is to create foliage by doing speckled little dots, sort of impressionistic version of leaves and the light shining through these leaves. It's very cool. Yeah, oh shoot, I was going to say something and now I completely forget. Sick brain. The banister, so the stonework banister, I didn't use a ruler because I think it works a little better when it's not perfectly straight, you know, just a little bit more charm here. And doing these features quickly but consistently. So yeah, I think that's the trick, consistent with the pressure of the brush. Oh, and I screwed up the floor. Whoopsie-doo. So my my fix for this was maybe not the best idea, but I didn't have a lot of color left, floor color left to do the whole thing. So I kind of created this darker version of the floor color and then did almost like a quick textured effect with my brush all over the place so that you can't really tell where I dropped in that color accidentally. And then we're doing the shadow. This shadow work on the floor, mixing some black in with the floor color, that reddish tomato soup color. And then again, pressure. So more pressure on my brush and then easing up on the pressure as I bring it downwards. Right here, this section, those shadows should have been straight down towards the bottom of the frame. They should have been like aiming at 6 o'clock rather than over towards 6:30. Does that make sense? I'm always asking if things make sense because in my brain they do, but yeah, so that was a little bit of a mistake. And so is breaking my brush. Look at that. Good start to 2024. Breaking brushes and making many mistakes, but that's okay. That's how we learn, right? I hope. The dry brush effect, easy to do. Just take your brush, dip it in some paint, wipe it off on a paper towel, and then go to town. The highlights here, the sun shining on the stonework of the banister, or the sort of the terrace, I guess this is. Really fun to do, just sort of haphazardly getting my brush strokes on there. And I chose this picture because to me this seems like the sun setting on 2024 or 2023. I don't want to get ahead of myself there. And yeah, I don't know about you, but 2023 was a very challenging year. One of the hardest of my life, but in a way, kind of one of the best too. A lot of growth, a lot of cool things happened in 2023. But I am happy that it's a new year, feeling pretty good about this year, even though I'm starting it off sick. That's okay. Good excuse to just stay home and get some shiz done. This is cool. I mixed some cyan and white and yellow together, adding just another color to tie in, I think to tie in the color of Maleficent skin, which is this turquoise color. You'll see it's coming up. And then the black here to do some of the divots, some of the aged sort of holes in the stonework, as well as the details. And so these are kind of like curved pillars of stone. And yeah, just putting in those details there. And then as I'm doing this, I'm realizing that, you know, these vines, these rose bush vines, because soon they'll have thorns all over them, are covering the castle. So I'm sort of guessing that this is after Aurora, aka Sleeping Beauty, after she's been cursed and she's asleep now, and she's waiting, you know, for someone to come and save her, of course. So antiquated. But anyway, so I'm thinking this is like later in the story, because these vines have now crept all around the castle. Very fun to paint. Really kind of foolproof. Can't really screw those up. And then painting in Maleficent. So this part, one of the most enjoyable parts of this painting was painting this, because her cloak, this dress that she's wearing, is really cool, and the shape of her sort of helmet thing that she wears is just all so dramatic and effective, but really simple to paint. So I love that. I love that these replicas that I do are really, you know, they've really taught me that simple shapes can be very effective. You'll see here when I do the raven on her hand, you know, talk about a simple shape. It's like a point and a rounded kind of body with two little feathers, and we know that it's a raven, right? We can tell that that's a bird. And then this turquoise or cyan, white and yellow color mixed together for her skin, that magical skin color. And there we have it, all done. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy 2024, peace and love in the new year. And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I'm almost at the point where I'm monetizing, so please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see y'all soon.